Just a simple broken headlight, reports of domestic violence, and an armed man inside the subway. Any single call can turn within seconds into a life-or-death decision for the person who is on the other side of the camera. What happens right after is captured on a body cam, a dash cam, or a radio call, completely unedited and unscripted. Today, we will take a look at 18 real cases involving the police in the United States. Between the chases, the standoffs, and tense arrests, some end in jail, while others end in death. Welcome to another video from the History in Focus channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button so you don't miss more videos like this one. Now let's dive into the video.
Number 1. Dashboard cameras captured a dramatic pursuit along the Palmetto Expressway in Miami-Dade on the afternoon of May 9th. It had all started hours earlier at Honda of South Miami, when Melina Logan asked for a test drive of a brand new silver Civic. The salesman got in the car, stepped out at some point, thinking she would just go around the block, and she took off with the dealership's car. The dealership notified Miami-Dade police immediately, and an alert was sent to every unit in the area. Hours later, the car was spotted driving on the Palmetto Expressway. An officer tried to pull her over, and she did not stop. She accelerated to roughly 90 miles per hour, aggressively changing lanes in heavy rush-hour traffic and using the shoulder to pass cars stuck in the gridlock. Near the Northwest 25th Street exit, Melina hit 4 cars before the Civic was completely destroyed against a concrete wall. Nobody imagined, at that moment, that the pileup was just the beginning of the strangest part of that entire afternoon on the Palmetto. With the car immobilized against the concrete wall, Melina got out and climbed onto the ramp guardrail. Instead of coming down and surrendering to the officers already surrounding the scene, she jumped straight into a lake beside the highway in Doral. Officers threw rescue buoys and ropes to her. She ignored everything, swimming away from the shore while being called back. 5 officers had to go into the water after her, some still in full uniform, while traffic came to a complete stop on the Palmetto. In the water, Melina scratched one of the female officers, and even held another one underwater during the struggle to escape. Part of her clothing was lost or torn off in the chaos of the water rescue. She was only pulled out by force after minutes of resistance against the 5 officers. She was arrested for vehicle theft, 2 counts of battery on a law enforcement officer, fleeing from authorities, and leaving the scene of the accident she herself had caused minutes earlier. Number 2. Body cameras worn by New York City detectives recorded the final minutes of Anthony Griffin, 44 years old, inside Grand Central Terminal on the morning of Saturday, April 11th, 2026. The footage begins with detectives Ryan Giuffre and Anthony Mineta standing near the staircase leading to the platform for the 4, 5, and 6 lines, watching Griffin climb the steps with a machete raised in his right hand, minutes after stabbing his first victim on the number 7 train platform. The detectives ordered him to drop the weapon the moment they saw him at the top of the stairs. Griffin did not drop it. In the footage, you can see him advancing toward the 2, stopping, retreating, shouting incoherent things, always with the blade pointed in front of his body. It was only later, reviewing the station's security cameras, that police understood he had already wounded 2 more people on the 4, 5, and 6 platform before even crossing paths with Giuffre and Mineta at the staircase. In the footage, Griffin shouts at one point that he is Lucifer. He also says he does not want to be there anymore and asks, more than once, for the detectives to just shoot him. Giuffre can be heard repeating the command to drop the machete at least 20 times throughout the recording, while Griffin paces back and forth across the platform. In the final seconds of the recording, Griffin charges directly at Giuffre with the machete pointed straight at the detective. Giuffre fires twice. The camera shows Griffin falling right there on the platform floor. He was taken to Bellevue Hospital, where he died shortly after arrival. The footage also captures both detectives being taken for medical attention for minor injuries sustained during the confrontation, injuries that pose no real threat to their lives. Reviewing the footage afterward, New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch confirmed in a press conference that Griffin had 3 prior arrests, 2 in the city and 1 upstate. There was no record of him being followed by any mental health service before that specific Saturday in April. The investigation also ruled out any connection to terrorism within the first hours after the attack. The subway was partially shut down for hours that Saturday, while forensic teams worked the scene recorded by the detectives' own cameras. The weapon was recovered inside the station. The 3 victims were taken to area hospitals and, according to authorities, were not in danger of dying, despite the severity of the wounds caused by the machete. For the detectives who were there, recording everything, it was just another Saturday that turned into a nightmare in a matter of seconds. Number 3. Dashboard camera footage captured a tense pursuit that ended with a 2-month-old baby rescued safe and sound from inside a pickup truck. The case began with an Amber Alert issued in Bibb County, Georgia, after Mortez Rashad Edwards of Macon forcibly took his own daughter from the child's mother. On August 3rd, 2025, residents of Florida spotted the silver Ford F-150 driving through the area. Officers from the Florida Highway Patrol and the Liberty County Sheriff tried to stop Edwards as soon as they located the vehicle. He fled immediately. A first pit maneuver attempt failed, and he completely reversed the direction of his flight, entering neighboring Gadsden County shortly after. It was only when they confirmed the baby was actually inside the truck that the teams changed their approach, prioritizing the safety of that child above everything else. At the intersection of Flat Creek Road and Bonnie Hill Road, an officer executed a pit maneuver at low speed precisely to avoid putting the baby at risk during the impact. The pickup stopped for good. When officers approached the vehicle already stopped on the shoulder, Edwards grabbed an AR-15 rifle that had been hidden inside the truck and pressed the barrel under his own chin in front of everyone. There was a physical struggle, but officers managed to take the weapon from him by force without anyone being injured. After losing the weapon to police, Edwards took off running and entered a wooded area nearby. An officer and Liberty County Sheriff's deputies caught up with him shortly after and arrested him without further resistance. Meanwhile, another officer found the baby safe and sound, still properly secured in the car seat, with no visible signs of injury on the child's small body. The child was taken to a hospital in Gadsden County and reunited with the mother and grandmother shortly after the entire ordeal. Edwards was arrested and faces charges including fleeing from law enforcement, aggravated assault on an officer, cruelty to children, and kidnapping of a minor. Number 4. A body camera worn by a Fairfax, Virginia officer recorded the moment a routine traffic stop turned into a shootout, leaving 2 officers wounded and 1 man dead. Jamal Wally, 36 years old, married and father of 4, had come to the United States in 2014 after working as a translator for American forces overseas. On April 23, 2025, he was pulled over on Majestic Lane solely because of an expired vehicle inspection sticker on the windshield. As soon as the officer approached the car, Wally immediately stated he was armed with a gun in a holster visible on his waist. He refused to give his name, said he had no driver's license or vehicle registration, and began shouting, cursing, and complaining about the treatment he had received in the United States since arriving. He went so far as to say, still inside the car, that he should have served with the Taliban instead of helping the Americans overseas years before that day. When 2 more officers arrived as backup for the already tense situation, Wally loaded his weapon and fired at the officers standing on the driver's side. The same bullet passed through one officer's arm and then struck the forearm of the second officer in sequence. Wally tried to fire again shortly after, but the gun jammed at that critical second when everything could have ended far worse for the 3 officers present at the scene of that sudden confrontation. From the passenger side, Officer Ian LaChapelle opened fire and struck Wally 4 consecutive times. Wally was taken to Innova Fair Oaks Hospital, where he died shortly after arriving at the emergency room. The 2 wounded officers were treated and released the same day with injuries that did not threaten their lives, despite the shock of seeing their own uniforms pierced by a single round that passed through both arms in sequence during that brief confrontation. The county police chief, Kevin Davis, later said that LaChapelle's actions prevented 2 police funerals that very day in April. In October of 2025, the Fairfax County prosecutor concluded the shooting was justified and decided not to file criminal charges against any of the officers involved in the confrontation that started because of a simple, expired sticker on the windshield of an old 1999 car, a routine traffic violation. Wally's family confirmed to investigators the details about his life as a military translator and about the financial difficulties he had been facing for months, including trouble finding steady employment and medical care in the country he had helped defend abroad. Nobody ever answered with certainty whether it was planned in advance or a sudden breakdown of a man who had already been showing anger toward his own country. Number 5. Dashboard cameras from Kenosha County, Wisconsin, recorded the pursuit of a blue Chevrolet Camaro that ended with a direct call to the car's manufacturer. The footage begins with officers spotting the Camaro entering the state from Illinois at high speed, not yet knowing that the driver, Wesley R. Anderson, 42 years old, had escaped police custody hours earlier and switched cars twice on his way there. Officers from Kenosha County, Pleasant Prairie, and the Wisconsin State Patrol tried to stop the Camaro with spike strips spread across the road, without any success. In the footage, the car drives right over the devices without slowing down. It was only by reviewing the cameras afterward that police pieced together the origin of that chase. Hours earlier, in Park Ridge, Illinois, 2 officers were transporting Anderson in handcuffs to the Lake County Jail when he broke free. According to what officers later reconstructed, Anderson had slipped his handcuffed hands to the front of his body without anyone noticing, freed himself with the help of a taser that had 0 effect on him, sprinted across Interstate 294, and carjacked a red van from a driver in Northbrook, crashing the vehicle into a BMW and a Lexus and injuring the BMW driver before abandoning the damaged van shortly after that first carjacking of the afternoon. Still in Northbrook, Anderson had stolen the blue Camaro itself from a driver named George, an Army veteran who had stopped precisely to help police during the emergency. It was only in that car that he crossed into Wisconsin and appeared on the dashcam footage of the cruisers now trying to stop him on the highway. Unable to halt the Camaro with spike strips, the teams finally contacted the stolen vehicle's manufacturer directly. OnStar, the car's own security system, remotely shut off the engine while Anderson was still on Interstate 94, in full motion on the highway, with the cruisers recording everything right behind him. He was arrested on the spot, still wearing the same handcuffs he had managed to escape hours earlier in Illinois that same day. The arrest ended without further violence. Despite the entire trail of destruction he left between two different states on that single Saturday afternoon. That same evening, while being evaluated at a Kenosha hospital before being transferred to the county jail, Anderson tried to escape for the second time in a matter of hours. He assaulted an officer after refusing to use a urinal when he asked to use the bathroom in his own hospital room. He was restrained again, and this time went straight to the Kenosha County Jail without any further chance to attempt another escape on that entire day of consecutive breakouts. Number 6. Body cameras worn by Greenville County, South Carolina. Deputies recorded the final minutes of Daziana Natasha Keontae Lewis, 21 years old, in the early hours of November 23, 2024. The footage begins with the two deputies arriving by car at the parking lot of the former Kmart Plaza in the Dunedin neighborhood around 2:26 in the morning, finding Daziana standing alone, after a call made to the emergency line minutes earlier. In the footage, the deputies approach and begin talking to Daziana. It is not possible to clearly hear everything said at the beginning of the recording, but at a certain point, the conversation escalates. The camera shows Daziana pulling a knife from inside her own clothing. One deputy backs up and gives repeated orders for her to drop the weapon, while the other positions himself alongside, both still trying to maintain distance from her in that empty parking lot in the middle of the night. Seconds later, one of the deputies fires. The camera records Daziana falling to the parking lot ground. She was taken to Prisma Greenville Memorial Hospital, where she died around 3 in the morning from multiple gunshot wounds. An internal affairs review examined the body camera footage months later and concluded the use of force was within department policy, formally closing the inquiry into that early morning. What the cameras do not show is the content of the call Daziana had made before the deputies arrived. She told the dispatcher she was about to do something stupid, and when asked if she would hurt the officers, she answered yes. Her father, Jeff Lewis, disagrees with the official version to this day, saying his daughter called asking for help, not to threaten anyone. She was the 5th person killed by county deputies in 2024 alone, the most violent year for that type of confrontation since 2010. Number 7. An emergency call made on the night of December 4th, 2023, recorded the screams that preceded the death of Niani Finlayson, 27 years old and mother of 2 small girls, inside her own apartment in Lancaster, California. On the call, she told the Los Angeles County Emergency Dispatch that her ex-boyfriend would not leave her home and that he was assaulting her at that very moment, with screams and sounds of a struggle audible in the background of the call itself. Deputies arrived and attempted to break down the apartment door as soon as they heard the screams coming from inside. One of them even handed a taser to a colleague to hold, but the device was never used during the entire incident that followed. When the door finally opened, Niani was holding a large kitchen knife in her right hand. According to the sheriff's department, she advanced toward the ex-boyfriend while still holding the weapon at that tense moment of the response. Deputy Ty Shelton shot and killed Niani right there on the spot, inside her own apartment. Her 9-year-old daughter witnessed everything from inside the home where the two of them lived together. The family completely disputes the official version released by the department, alleging that Niani was a victim of domestic violence and posed no threat whatsoever when she was shot in the back, according to the attorney representing her family to this day in the case. Niani's family filed a lawsuit seeking $30 million in damages against the entire county over her death in that apartment. Shelton had already killed another unarmed person in 2020, a 61-year-old man in a similar domestic violence call in the same area of the county. After the fallout from Niani's case, the deputy was permanently fired from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department that same year of 2024. Number 8. A body camera worn by an Albuquerque officer recorded the 40 minutes of negotiation that preceded the death of David Gaylor, 42 years old, on May 19, 2023. It all started when his sister called police saying her brother had bought a rope and was planning to end his life that same day, and had also threatened to kill her if she showed up at his apartment. She told officers he had been previously diagnosed with schizoaffective and bipolar disorders. The camera shows officers trying to talk with Gaylor for nearly 40 minutes, first through the closed door, then through a back window of the apartment, without managing to get him to come out at any point during that long negotiation, recorded almost in its entirety by the body cameras present at the scene. The recording shows the moment Gaylor finally opens the door, holding an improvised spear, a 6-foot pipe with a knife tied to the end. He advances on the officers. In the footage, one of them deploys the taser twice in a row with no effect on the second attempt, while Gaylor cuts the device's wires with the improvised blade, still advancing toward the officers who were slowly retreating down the narrow building corridor. Facing the continuous advance captured by the cameras, 2 officers fire and Gaylor dies at the scene on the corridor floor. An internal review by the department, conducted months later by analyzing the footage, made no specific recommendations regarding the officers' actions in that particular case. The absence of a crisis team available that afternoon went unanswered in the official reports released later by the city's police department. Number 9. A body camera worn by an Anaheim officer recorded the confrontation that ended with the death of Rudy Anthony Martinez II, 36 years old, near an elementary school on September 15, 2025. The footage begins with the officer arriving by car at the corner of Holly Street and Falmouth Avenue around 12:45 in the afternoon, after staff at John Marshall Elementary School reported a man carrying a broken shovel walking near the building. In the footage, the officer exits the cruiser and attempts to approach Martinez, who had already been seen earlier that same day holding a brick about 30 minutes away on North Colleen Street. The camera shows Martinez charging at the cruiser itself, striking it repeatedly with the shovel, before going after the officer while still holding the tool raised as if it were an actual weapon at that tense moment of the encounter. The recording shows the officer shooting him at that moment of direct confrontation. Martinez is treated at the scene, still captured by the camera footage, and taken to the hospital, where he dies approximately 30 minutes after arriving at the emergency room. The school went into a brief lockdown as a precaution, but no students witnessed the confrontation or faced direct risk during the incident. The officer was not injured. The case was referred for independent investigation by the Orange County District Attorney's Office. Number 10. A dashboard camera from the Arkansas State Police recorded a pursuit that ended with the rollover of a stolen vehicle on October 2nd, 2024. The footage begins with the car being spotted near Garland and Jefferson Avenues in Texarkana, and local police requesting state patrol support. The driver continues straight on Jefferson Avenue before turning onto Interstate 30, already being closely pursued by the cruiser, recording everything at over 90 miles per hour. In the footage, the car accelerates to roughly 95 miles per hour on the highway. Near the junction with I-49, the camera shows the driver attempting to pass another vehicle in the center lane. He loses control. The car rolls over, ending up upside down right in the middle of the median, captured almost in real time by the cruiser that had been right behind during the entire highway pursuit up to the exact moment of the crash. It was only after pulling the driver from the overturned car and confirming his identity that officers discovered he was a 17-year-old who was already facing first-degree murder charges for the death of Kendrick Rocamore in September of 2023 in the same city. He had been free on $250,000 bail awaiting trial scheduled for the following month. He was treated at Christus St. Michael Hospital and taken to a juvenile detention center in Pine Bluff. Number 11. Body cameras worn by Springfield, Illinois. Officers recorded the arrest of Kashawn Rush, 32 years old, on the evening of September 6th, 2025. The footage begins with officers arriving at the Yale Boulevard neighborhood around 6:45 in the evening after residents reported a man beating and choking a pit bull dog in the middle of the street, in front of multiple people watching from the sidewalk at the start of that Saturday night. In the footage, officers find Rush lying on the front lawn of a house with the dog. Witnesses said the animal appeared to be stolen and that Rush was using the dog to intimidate other people in the neighborhood. The camera shows him trying to leave the scene with the animal, ignoring the officer's orders, and turning on the officer aggressively, making direct threats during that encounter that was already heating up. The recording shows the moment the situation worsens. Rush attacks his own girlfriend, who was trying to take the dog at that moment of confusion. A second officer arrives, as backup, visible in the footage from both cameras. Rush resists arrest violently, striking the officers and ripping equipment from their vests during the physical struggle, recorded almost entirely by the body cameras present on that front lawn during Saturday night. Bystanders on the street filmed a sergeant named Charles Peters punching Rush multiple times during the final takedown, and that video, unlike the body camera footage, circulated rapidly on social media. In response to the public backlash, the police department released the complete body camera footage to provide the full context. Rush was taken to the hospital because of the pepper spray before being transferred to the station. Number 12. A dashboard camera from an Arkansas state trooper recorded a pursuit that crossed the Missouri state line at over 150 miles per hour. At 8:22 on the morning of June 15, 2026, the trooper noticed a red Chevrolet Corvette with a cover over the license plate on Interstate 55. A quick check showed the car's registration had expired in March of that same year. When the trooper hit the siren, instead of stopping, the driver floored it and accelerated. The Corvette exceeded 150 miles per hour, peaking at 156 miles per hour as it crossed into Missouri. Officers from that state were already positioned waiting for the car to arrive, with spike strips spread across the road ahead. The left side tires blew on contact, but the car kept rolling thanks to run-flat tires that continue to function, even when completely punctured in an emergency situation. While attempting to slow the badly damaged Corvette, the trooper pulled his own car alongside to execute the final containment maneuver. The driver braked suddenly, and the rear quarter panel of the Corvette struck the cruiser head-on, disabling both vehicles right there on the highway. The driver, identified as Jaden Atrayan Smith, 28 years old, took off running across a nearby field carrying a black backpack on his back. Inside the backpack, officers found keys to other high-performance vehicles and a small amount of marijuana in a side pocket. After being detained, Smith told officers he was not worried about destroying the Corvette, because he would simply buy another car after that day. He was taken to the Pemiscot County Jail in Missouri, awaiting the extradition process back to the state of Arkansas. Number 13. A dashboard camera from Deputy Christopher Murphy of Flagler County, Florida, recorded the confrontation that ended with an armed man struck by the patrol car itself. The footage begins just before midnight on January 4th, 2025, with Murphy patrolling the western area of Palm Coast and spotting Michael McDermott, 38 years old, standing on the sidewalk of Pine Lakes Parkway, next to a bicycle lying on the ground of that quiet street. In the footage, McDermott picks up the bicycle and starts pedaling as soon as Murphy tries to approach on foot. The camera shows the deputy activating the emergency lights to make McDermott stop pedaling. He does slow down, as if about to comply with the order, but starts pedaling fast again the moment Murphy steps out of the car to approach, forcing the deputy to run back to the cruiser and resume the pursuit through the residential streets of Palm Coast. Murphy catches up with McDermott again on Westminster Drive, and it is at precisely this point in the recording that the camera shows McDermott pulling a 9mm pistol from inside his own pants. Fearing he would use the weapon, Murphy struck the suspect with the cruiser itself. McDermott was thrown from the bicycle and dropped the gun. A second deputy, Michael Anderson, arrived seconds later as backup, still captured by the cameras of both officers present. Number 14. A dashboard camera from Deputy Fisher of Fayette County, Georgia, recorded the pursuit that ended with the discovery that the fleeing driver was only 14 years old. The footage begins with Fisher spotting a silver Honda Civic on Highway 85 South on the morning of March 11, 2024. A car that had already been reported as stolen at gunpoint hours earlier in neighboring DeKalb County. According to the alert the deputy received that Monday morning, in the footage, Fisher attempts to get the driver to stop, but he accelerates and flees through the residential neighborhood. The camera records the car hitting street signs, mailboxes, and another vehicle while trying to escape, until finally losing control on a sharp curve. It is at that moment that the recording shows the driver getting out of the now stopped car, holding a gun in his hand as cruisers close in on the scene. The camera records the driver surrendering the moment he realizes he is completely surrounded by armed deputies pointing at him. Nobody was injured, and no shots were fired during the entire incident that morning. It was only after the arrest, checking his ID, that officers discovered the suspect was just 14 years old and, as he himself answered, was supposed to be at school, DeKalb Middle School, at that very hour of the morning when he was fleeing armed through the city. Number 15. A dashboard camera from the Arkansas State Police recorded the pursuit of DeAndre Brothers, 29 years old, on the morning of Monday, March 23, 2026. The footage begins with the request for support made by Jefferson County to the state police around 11:15 in the morning, and the cruiser taking over the pursuit on Interstate 530 northbound near Redfield, with Brothers already speeding and nearly colliding with other cars on the road. In the footage, around 11:30 in the morning, the trooper takes the lead in the pursuit, following Brothers at up to 125 miles per hour on the highway. The camera shows his car nearly hitting several vehicles along the route. Brothers was wanted for terroristic threatening, aggravated assault, and resisting arrest, but none of that appears in the footage, just the car rocketing forward trying to escape the cruiser right behind, recording everything in real time. Near the Redfield exit, the recording shows the trooper executing the tactical maneuver that ends the pursuit. Brothers' car crosses the median and slams head-on into a civilian van coming from the opposite direction without injuring the driver. He gets out of the destroyed car and tries to flee on foot through the brush, but is captured shortly after by Jefferson County deputies, who were already surrounding the area, ending the chase with no officers injured. Number 16. A body camera worn by an Atlanta police officer recorded the moment Tremaco Consul Watson, a homicide suspect with an active warrant in the city, was finally apprehended on November 4th, 2025. The footage begins with the officer parking the cruiser near Campground Road in southwest Atlanta, around 5:40 in the afternoon, and running after Watson, who had already abandoned the silver Ford Fusion and was trying to flee on foot. In the footage, the officer catches Watson quickly and handcuffs him right there on the street, with support from other colleagues who arrive in the seconds that follow. The operation involved gang, aviation, and homicide units of the Atlanta Police Department, but the camera captures only that final moment of the apprehension, with Watson already subdued on the ground as officers confirm his identity and the open homicide warrant against him in the city. The camera also records the Fusion's passenger, identified as Torrance Ray Hampton Jr., surrendering without any resistance just a few yards away, still visible in the corner of the recording. A firearm is found inside the vehicle during the search conducted by officers shortly after. Both are taken for questioning at Atlanta Police Headquarters that same afternoon, with Watson also facing charges of fleeing in a vehicle, reckless driving, and obstruction of justice. Number 17. A dashboard camera from Clayton County, Georgia. Deputies recorded the pursuit of a stolen black Dodge Charger on the afternoon of Monday, August 19, 2024. The footage begins with the car, stolen hours earlier in the South Fulton neighborhood, being located on Highway 314 near Highway 138, and the driver ignoring the command to pull over the moment he notices the cruiser approaching from behind on that summer afternoon. In the footage, the pursuit continues onto Old National Highway, with the Charger reaching 100 miles per hour through the residential streets. According to Sheriff's Department spokesman Jamal Webb, you could tell from the way the driver was handling the car that he did not care one bit about anyone nearby at that moment, putting area residents in direct danger during much of that chase recorded by the cruiser's own camera. The recording shows the deputies managing a PIT maneuver, puncturing one of the tires, and reducing the Charger's speed enough to force a complete stop. In the following frames, the driver jumps out and runs into a nearby residential neighborhood, but is tracked and arrested shortly after. The suspect was identified as Marquez Milner. Webb described the episode as quite a ride for the suspect, summing up the flight recorded from start to finish by the camera. Number 18. A dashboard camera from Trooper Manise of the Colorado State Patrol recorded a pursuit that nearly ended in a head-on collision multiple times on the morning of April 8, 2026. The footage begins with Manise in the middle of another traffic stop on Highway 160 near Cortez when he spots a gray Jeep Gladiator driving along the shoulder in the wrong direction, heading straight into oncoming traffic on that busy road. Manise breaks off the stop he was already handling and runs back to his cruiser, taking off after the Jeep with the siren on. The camera shows the driver swerving on and off the shoulder repeatedly, invading the opposing lane multiple times and nearly causing head-on collisions with other cars along the route, including near the rest area known as Sleeping Ute Mountain, recorded almost in its entirety by the cruiser's own dashcam. The recording shows the Jeep approaching a construction zone with a 40-mile-per-hour speed limit, but the driver continues at roughly 65 miles per hour with no sign of slowing down. In the following frames, Manise executes the tactical maneuver that finally brings the vehicle to a complete stop on that stretch of road. The driver, an 81-year-old man, is arrested for driving under the influence, reckless driving, and fleeing from law enforcement, all recorded from start to finish by the state cruiser's camera. Number 19. A Columbus, Ohio, police camera recorded the pursuit that ended with the rollover of Timothy Brown's car, 40 years old, on the night of May 8, 2025. The footage begins with the officer being dispatched at 7:20 in the evening after a report of gunshots in the Cleveland Avenue area and spotting the suspect's vehicle fleeing as soon as the cruiser approached the scene of the shooting that Thursday. In the footage, Brown accelerates through residential streets trying to escape the cruiser already behind him with the siren on. The camera records the route to the Huey Road area, where Brown's car ends up striking the police cruiser itself before rolling over violently around 7:40 in the evening, ending the 20 minutes of pursuit recorded almost in their entirety by the officer's own dashcam. The recording shows officers surrounding the overturned car and carefully pulling Brown out of it, still within the camera's own frame. He was arrested at the crash scene, charged in connection with the shooting that had triggered the entire pursuit through the streets of Columbus. He was indicted on 3 counts of felonious assault with a firearm, 2 counts of discharging a weapon into an occupied structure, and weapons possession by a legally prohibited person. Number 20. A dashboard camera from a Texas Department of Public Safety trooper recorded the pursuit that ended with the seizure of 240 pounds of marijuana in Cameron County. The footage begins with the trooper trying to stop Azael Pena, 18 years old, for a simple traffic violation, and Pena accelerating to flee shortly after, sideswiping a Border Patrol vehicle that was nearby during that initial stop on the road, still at the start of the chase. In the footage, Pena flees at high speed, reaching 95 miles per hour on the county roads. A DPS aircraft appears, providing aerial support for the ground pursuit, guiding the troopers on the surface while the suspect tries to shake the cruisers through the area's streets. The operation was part of Operation Lone Star, a partnership between the Texas state government and the National Guard to combat border trafficking, recorded almost in full by the cameras involved. The recording shows Pena's car finally stopping and being surrounded by the troopers present at the scene. Inside the vehicle, the teams find 10 bundles of marijuana, weighing a total of 240 pounds, hidden in the back seat and trunk of the car. Pena was arrested for marijuana possession. The case reinforces how minor traffic violations in that border region sometimes conceal trafficking operations recorded from start to finish by the officer's own cameras.